Not everyone who walks through life commands respect. Not everyone who speaks or moves is remembered. There are men who simply exist, and there are men who radiate value without saying a word. The difference is not in wealth, looks, or connections. The difference is in how they move through the world, effortlessly, naturally, unconquered. If you recognize yourself in the way you act, even without trying, you are already walking the path of a high-value man. And the Stoics would tell us, this is not about pride, it is about mastery of self. Sign 1. You guard your time as your most precious asset. The first sign that marks a man as truly high value is not what he owns, who he knows, or how he looks. It is how he treats his time. For a man of discipline, time is more than hours on a clock. It is the raw material of his life, the substance of his freedom, the arena where character is forged. Seneca, the Stoic master of clarity, once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And he was not speaking of frivolous indulgence alone. He was speaking of every second surrendered to distraction, every hour given to people or things that do not elevate the soul, every moment lost to inertia or reaction. A high-value man understands instinctively that time is non-renewable. Once a day passes, it is gone forever. He does not hand it out carelessly, nor does he allow others to command it without cause. There is a discipline here that is almost invisible. He neither announces it nor turns it into a weapon, but it radiates in every interaction. This man does not rush to meet every request, does not flinch when someone's expectations collide with his priorities, and does not give his presence to people who would devalue it. Observe him closely. His calm in a room full of noise is not arrogance, it is discernment. He chooses what deserves attention and what can be ignored. Small things, the petty dramas of others, the incessant scrolling of social media, the habitual distractions of convenience are irrelevant to him. He does not need to prove his worth to anyone. He proves it by where he invests his focus. This is why he seems untouchable, even to those who tried to provoke him. Anger, manipulation, and trivial demands fail to disturb him, because his attention is a fortress, and he guards its gates vigilantly. As Marcus Aurelius advised, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. A man who protects his time protects his mind, and in doing so, he protects his life. Even naturally, without conscious effort, a high-value man minimizes the wasted energy around him. He does not volunteer for chaos. He does not allow others' indecision, fear, or pettiness to intrude upon his priorities. He does not drift in a world where he is reactive. He moves with intent, and others feel it. This is magnetic, because no one can replicate a life fully controlled by deliberate choices. There is also a humility embedded in this trait. Guarding one's time does not mean cutting oneself off from humanity. The high-value man chooses company carefully, but he does not dismiss people indiscriminately. He recognizes the difference between engagement that enriches his purpose and interaction that diminishes it. He spends time with those who uplift, challenge, or expand his thinking, and he walks away quietly from those who drain him. This practice creates another silent effect. He becomes an example without trying to be one. People notice the steadiness of his life, the calm deliberation of his choices, the absence of frantic busyness. They are drawn to him, not because he demands attention, but because he demonstrates what it looks like to live intentionally. In a world full of reactionaries and time wasters, a man who honors his hours is already set apart. Consider the subtle consequences. He does not linger in toxic environments. He does not engage in unnecessary conflicts. He does not allow petty provocations to dictate his schedule or emotional energy. And because he values time so profoundly, he respects his own growth. He reads, reflects, exercises and practices self-mastery, not as obligations, but as investments in the most valuable asset he owns, himself. In essence, guarding time is guarding life itself. It is a quiet mastery, an invisible strength. It signals self-respect, intelligence, and discipline to anyone who encounters him. The world may try to pull him into distraction, into drama, into emotional chaos, but he remains deliberate. He measures cost and benefit, not in currency or influence, but in the moments of his existence. Ultimately, this is the first mark of a high-value man. He does not give what cannot be replaced. His time is sacred, and because he treats it as such, he lives fully, acts intentionally, and becomes untouchable in his pursuit of excellence. The man who naturally guards his time has already claimed a power few ever attain, the power to define his life, unshaken by the whims of others, unbroken by distraction, and unwavering in the face of chaos.
Sign 2. You remain calm when others lose theirs. The second unmistakable mark of a high-value man is not measured by wealth, looks, or influence, but by his unshakable calm in the storm. He does not allow the chaos of others, the noise of their emotions, or the turbulence of circumstance to dictate his inner state. To him, composure is not a performance, it is a habit. It is the natural outcome of discipline and self-mastery. Observe the world around him. People react, lash out, panic, or complain. They surrender their minds to emotion, trading clarity for impulse. Yet he remains unmoved. His calm is not arrogance, it is not denial, it is recognition. Recognition that no one controls the events themselves, only the judgment placed upon them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The high-value man lives this truth daily, unconsciously even, and the difference is immediately visible. This trait manifests in subtle ways. When conflict arises, he does not mirror aggression. When someone attempts to provoke him, he does not bite. When misfortune strikes, he does not despair. He approaches each challenge like a seasoned warrior, aware of the chaos around him, yet anchored in the order within. Epictetus taught that it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The high-value man embodies this lesson not as theory, but as instinct. There is a reason this calm is magnetic. People naturally gravitate toward him because he offers stability in a world of unpredictability. In their panic, frustration, or confusion, his serenity is a refuge, an example, a mirror of the potential within them if they could master themselves. The calm he radiates is not performative, it is earned through consistent self-discipline, reflection, and the refusal to surrender to transient emotional disturbances. Remaining calm is not passive, it is not inaction. On the contrary, it requires immense courage. To stay composed while others rage demands the willingness to stand apart, to be judged, or even to be misunderstood. It requires rejecting the instinct to seek validation through reaction. Many men lose themselves in emotional chaos because responding feels necessary, urgent, or justified. The high-value man has learned the power of deliberate restraint. His calm also allows him to act strategically. Decisions made in anger, fear, or impulsivity are rarely wise. By maintaining serenity, he preserves clarity. He sees patterns, calculates outcomes, and chooses actions aligned with his purpose. Seneca wrote that a wise person's mind is like a steady flame, not a candle flickering in the wind. In this steadiness, the high-value man gains an invisible advantage over those who are constantly buffeted by their emotions. Importantly, his calm does not make him disconnected or cold. Stoicism does not advocate emotional numbness. It advocates mastery of emotions, not suppression. The high-value man feels deeply, but he does not allow feeling to dictate action. He acknowledges frustration, anger, or sadness, yet he processes these emotions internally and lets them inform, not control, his response. Even naturally, without conscious effort,
He sets boundaries around emotional energy. He does not absorb the chaos of others. He does not trade his peace for the satisfaction of reacting. And in doing so, he cultivates a mind that is untouchable, a presence that is inherently respected, and a life that is unconquerable. Remaining calm when others lose theirs is not merely a habit, it is a signal of self-mastery, fortitude, and silent authority. It communicates, I am not at the mercy of the world. I define my state. I rise above the emotional turbulence of others because I have trained my mind like a fortress. And in this mastery lies another truth. The calm man shapes his environment not through force, but through example, presence, and unshakable consistency. He does not chase validation. He does not need chaos to feel alive. He has discovered that true strength is measured not in reaction, but in the ability to remain serene when the world demands otherwise. This is the natural aura of a high-value man, a calm that is impossible to fake, impossible to manufacture, and unmistakable to anyone who witnesses it. It is the quiet power that commands respect, attracts trust, and elevates the soul, not by words, but by presence. Sign 3. You speak less, but every word carries weight. The third sign that a man is high value is not something you can measure with a glance or a title. It is subtle, almost imperceptible, yet impossible to ignore when present. The way he communicates, or more precisely, the way he chooses not to speak unnecessarily. His words are rare, deliberate, and intentional. They carry weight because they are anchored in self-mastery, reflection, and clarity of purpose. The world is loud. Most men fill the silence with empty noise, boasting, complaining, debating, or seeking attention. The high-value man does not. He understands the power of restraint. He knows that every word spoken is an investment of energy, and like his time, it is finite. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. He lives this principle effortlessly, naturally, and without need for recognition. Observe him in a room. He listens first. He watches. He absorbs. While others react impulsively, he remains silent, studying patterns, reading intentions, weighing words against action. And only when it is necessary, only when it adds to the moment, does he speak. His words are deliberate because they are born from thought, not impulse. This restraint is not born from fear or passivity. It is born from control over one's impulses and mastery over pride. The Stoics believe that speech is an extension of reason, not a vehicle of ego. Epictetus taught, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. The high-value man embodies this truth naturally. He understands that to dominate with words is to often surrender to emotion, but to control his words is to demonstrate authority without force. The weight of his speech is magnified because he does not speak to impress, compete, or placate. He speaks to convey meaning, to clarify purpose, and to influence subtly. He does not argue to win. He argues to reveal truth. He does not interrupt to assert presence. He listens to understand, then responds to guide. His silence alone commands respect, for people recognize instinctively that a man who does not need to fill every moment with noise possesses inner strength far beyond theirs. This manner of communication also protects him from unnecessary conflict. In a world that thrives on emotional reaction, the high-value man's restraint becomes armor. He is not pulled into petty arguments, gossip, or manipulation. Others' attempts to provoke him meet the same calm, measured presence that defines his life. By speaking less, he maintains clarity. By speaking only when necessary, he preserves authority. Yet his silence is not emptiness. It is power under control. It communicates more than words ever could: confidence, composure, self-respect, and wisdom. People naturally defer to him not because they fear him, but because they sense his presence is intentional, his life governed by reason, and his decisions guided by principle. Yet his silence is not emptiness.
It is power under control. It communicates more than words ever could: confidence, composure, self-respect, and wisdom. People naturally defer to him not because they fear him, but because they sense his presence is intentional, his life governed by reason, and his decisions guided by principle. Even naturally, without effort, this man creates an aura of influence. He does not seek attention, yet attention is drawn to him. He does not seek to dominate, yet his presence dominates. He does not boast, yet respect follows him. This is the invisible signature of a high-value man. His speech is measured, meaningful, and rare, making each word he chooses to speak a signal of authority and mastery. Moreover, this discipline in speech reflects discipline in all areas of life. A man who controls his words is a man who controls his thoughts, emotions, and actions. He does not react impulsively, he chooses intentionally. He does not surrender to chaos, he cultivates order. He does not seek validation, he is already complete. Seneca wrote that a wise man's words are like arrows, each one aimed, deliberate, and purposeful. The high-value man lives this principle unconsciously. He does not waste the energy of speech because he understands that most men are enslaved by their tongues, and freedom, true freedom, comes to those who are not. To speak less but with power is to command a world obsessed with noise. It is to rise above triviality and to embody strength under restraint. Those who recognize this in a man sense immediately that he is not ordinary, he is high value. In the quiet of his presence, the world listens. Sign 4. You take responsibility for everything in your life. The fourth sign that sets a high-value man apart is not visible in his possessions, his relationships, or even his social standing. It is far more profound. It is in how he handles reality itself. He does not blame others. He does not cower in excuses. He does not surrender his power to circumstance or complaint. He takes responsibility for everything in his life, and in doing so, he transforms adversity into mastery. The world is full of men who point fingers. They blame the economy, the government, their upbringing, or even fate itself for the state of their lives. They lament, they rationalize, and they linger in victimhood. But the high-value man does not belong to this category. He recognizes a truth the Stoics have repeated for centuries. It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Epictetus. To take responsibility is to understand the boundary between what is within one's control and what is not, and then to take ownership of the former without wasting energy on the latter. He cannot control the world, but he can control himself. His thoughts, his actions, his discipline, and his reactions all lie within his dominion. This recognition does not make him passive, it makes him immensely powerful, because he channels his energy where it matters most. Notice how he behaves in moments of failure. When a plan collapses, when someone betrays him, or when life delivers pain, he does not lash out. He does not complain or justify. He observes, reflects, and asks the only relevant question: what can I do now? His focus is on solutions, on improvement, on forward motion, not on excuses. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. And if it is not necessary, do not do it." Every action he takes is deliberate, guided by principle rather than impulse. Even naturally, this habit radiates strength. People around him sense it instantly. He is not a man who shirks responsibility, hides behind others' failures, or flees from accountability. He does not blame his partner, his boss, or society for setbacks. He owns his choices and their consequences, and in doing so, he commands respect silently, effortlessly. Seneca emphasized this principle repeatedly. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. A high-value man does not wait for life to gift him opportunity. He prepares, he trains, he disciplines, and he acts with accountability so that when life tests him, he does not falter. And because he owns his life fully,
He never feels helpless, dependent, or powerless. It is crucial to understand the subtlety of this trait. Taking responsibility does not make him rigid or controlling. Stoicism teaches that we accept what is outside our control, but the high-value man ensures that everything within his reach is tended to with precision. He does not outsource his destiny to luck, people, or circumstance. This mindset naturally attracts trust and admiration because others instinctively feel they can rely on him, not because he asserts dominance, but because he embodies reliability and mastery. Taking responsibility also means facing the inner self without excuses. He examines his thoughts, biases, and destructive habits. He confronts fear, anger, and doubt, understanding that personal mastery begins with awareness. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." The high-value man lives this truth unconsciously. He does not blame life, he shapes it. Ultimately, this sign, the absolute ownership of one's life, is magnetic, invisible, and undeniable. It communicates power, discipline, and stability to anyone who observes it. The man who takes responsibility does not need validation or approval. He walks through the world as the master of his own fate. In the presence of such a man, others feel the weight of accountability reflected back at them. They instinctively recognize that he has claimed the ultimate prize: self-mastery, freedom, and unshakable value. To take responsibility is to hold your life in your hands without fear, complaint, or excuse. And in doing so, you naturally step into the realm of a high-value man.
Sign 5. You do not seek approval, you command respect. The fifth sign that defines a high-value man is visible not in his words, but in the energy he carries, the presence he projects, and the quiet authority that follows him everywhere he goes. It is not arrogance, nor is it a need to dominate. It is an inner certainty, an unshakable confidence that comes from self-mastery, discipline, and integrity. Unlike most men, he does not chase validation from the world. He does not bend, plead, or manipulate to be liked. Instead, respect is drawn to him naturally because he has earned it through the way he lives. To understand this, we must first grasp the difference between approval and respect. Approval is fleeting. It is external, fragile, and often undeserved. People can withhold it arbitrarily, take it back, or use it as leverage. Respect, however, is earned, rooted in character, action, and consistency. It is not given lightly, nor is it dependent on anyone's whim. A high-value man does not confuse these two. He understands that pleasing others is a distraction, a surrender of power, and a trap. The Stoics repeatedly emphasized the importance of internal validation over external. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The high-value man internalizes this wisdom fully. He does not seek approval because he is already aligned with his own principles, values, and goals. His self-worth is not contingent on compliments, likes, or recognition. It comes from his ability to act rightly, endure hardship, and master himself, regardless of whether the world acknowledges it. This independence of validation manifests in subtle yet undeniable ways. When others rush to impress, brag, or react impulsively to gain attention, he remains composed, indifferent to their judgments. He does not need to prove his worth. He does not compete for superficial accolades. Instead, his actions speak louder than words. The quiet decisiveness of his choices, the consistency of his discipline, and the strength of his character broadcast value in ways that cannot be ignored. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." The high-value man embodies this principle effortlessly. He does not debate his worth or justify his presence. He demonstrates it naturally, and those who recognize it are drawn to him. This is the power of self-respect and internal authority. It is magnetic without effort, commanding admiration without demand. Even naturally, without deliberate thought,
This man sets boundaries without apology. He does not overextend himself to please, he does not tolerate disrespect, and he does not compromise his principles for temporary approval. This behavior communicates power subtly. It signals that he values himself enough to hold firm in the face of others' expectations, and in doing so, he projects strength without ego. High-value men also understand that approval is often manipulative. People may praise or criticize to serve their own interests, to provoke reactions, or to control. By refusing to rely on external validation, he remains untouchable. He acts in alignment with his own moral compass, guided by reason rather than desire for approval. Seneca emphasized, "He who is brave is free." The courage to stand independently of opinion is freedom in its purest form, and it is the hallmark of value. This self-sufficiency in social and emotional spheres gives him a presence others notice instantly. He does not need to dominate a conversation, impress a room, or compete for attention. Respect gravitates toward him naturally, drawn by his calm, confident authority and unshakable consistency. In his presence, the world feels steadier, more ordered, more deliberate. This is the invisible power of a high-value man. He does not demand recognition, yet recognition finds him. Finally, the refusal to seek approval extends beyond people. It is a mindset, a way of life. He does not bend to fleeting trends, popular opinion, or social pressure. His choices, his values, and his goals are self-directed. By commanding respect instead of chasing approval, he achieves something few ever do: autonomy, influence, and a life aligned with his own principles rather than the expectations of others. This is the fifth hallmark of a high-value man. He does not ask for permission, he does not seek approval, and he does not bargain for respect. He embodies it through presence, discipline, and mastery of self. Those who understand this instinctively know they are in the presence of someone rare, someone naturally high value. Sign 6. You control your emotions instead of letting them control you. The sixth sign of a high-value man is both profound and invisible to the untrained eye. He does not allow his emotions to dictate his actions or his state of being. In a world ruled by impulse, ego, and reaction, he stands apart. His mind is not a battlefield where anger, fear, or desire overrun reason. Instead, he is the general of his own inner empire, directing every thought, impulse, and feeling with deliberate mastery. The average man believes that emotions must be followed, indulged, or suppressed. He reacts impulsively to insult, disappointment, or desire, giving away his power in the process. The high-value man understands that this is a trap. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." He internalizes this principle so deeply that it becomes instinctive. To control emotions does not mean to be cold or detached. On the contrary, it means feeling fully, but choosing deliberately how to act on those feelings. When anger arises, he does not lash out. When fear appears, he does not flee. When desire tempts him, he does not surrender. He observes these emotions as signals, not as commands, and decides consciously whether and how they serve his purpose. This discipline is invisible but magnetic, drawing admiration and respect from those around him. Epictetus emphasized that freedom comes from mastery over oneself. No man is free who is not master of himself. The high-value man exemplifies this. He does not react because it is expected, convenient, or habitual. He reacts only when it aligns with principle and strategy. This control transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for fortitude, turning challenges, insults, and setbacks into instruments for personal growth. His composure is not just an internal exercise. It shapes the way the world responds to him. People instinctively respect those who are unshaken. They test, provoke, and challenge, yet the high-value man remains calm. His lack of reactive emotion signals a confidence and stability that cannot be bought or faked. It communicates, silently, I am unbreakable. I am in control. My mind is my own. Even naturally, without consciously thinking about it, he avoids emotional entanglement in drama, gossip, and manipulation. He does not absorb the chaos of others, nor does he allow fleeting desires to dictate his life. He has built emotional resilience through discipline, reflection, and repeated practice. This is not an overnight achievement. It is the result of a lifetime of understanding that emotions are tools, not masters.
Controlling emotions also gives him clarity in decision-making. Decisions made in anger or panic are rarely wise. Decisions made under deliberation and self-command are precise, effective, and powerful. This is why high-value men appear to navigate life with uncanny ease. Their lives are not chaotic or reactive. They are guided by reason, strategy, and intentionality. Seneca taught that mastery over oneself is the highest form of wealth. He is most powerful who has power over himself. The high-value man embodies this truth daily. He faces the world unshakable, unmanipulated, and untempted by superficial gains. His mind is a fortress, his state of being is a sanctuary, and his presence commands respect. This mastery over emotion also impacts relationships, work, and social standing. He does not allow petty conflicts, jealousy, or external pressures to destabilize him. He does not plead for understanding, nor does he demand recognition. Instead, he stands as a pillar of stability, a presence that inspires trust, loyalty, and admiration. In essence, controlling one's emotions is the invisible strength of a high-value man. It is the difference between being ruled by circumstance and ruling over it. It is the mastery that allows him to act decisively, live deliberately, and maintain dignity regardless of the storms around him. The man who masters his emotions becomes untouchable, not because he seeks power, but because he has claimed sovereignty over himself. And in that claim, he radiates a presence that commands attention, respect, and admiration effortlessly. Sign 7. You value your time more than anything else. The seventh and perhaps most defining sign of a high-value man is his unshakable respect for time, the one resource that is finite, irreplaceable, and constantly slipping through our fingers. While most men squander hours chasing distractions, approval, or trivial desires, he treats every moment as a tool for mastery, growth, and purpose. He understands deeply and instinctively that time wasted is life wasted, and he refuses to allow it to be stolen, misused, or trivialized. Consider the world around him. Men endlessly scroll through social media, complain about circumstances, or chase the fleeting attention of others. They barter their moments for noise, gossip, and vanity. The high-value man does none of this. He does not participate in time theft, and he does not surrender his energy to things that do not serve his purpose. His schedule, his priorities, and even his silence are deliberate, and in that discipline, he radiates value. The Stoics repeatedly emphasized the sacred nature of time. Seneca, in his timeless essay on the shortness of life, wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested." The high-value man internalizes this truth daily. He treats time as the currency of power, the measure of his presence, and the medium through which he cultivates mastery. This respect for time manifests in how he interacts with others. He does not linger with people who drain his energy or distract him from purpose. He does not entertain unnecessary drama, endless complaining, or trivial conversation. His attention is deliberate. It is a gift he chooses to give, not something he distributes carelessly. When he speaks, acts, or engages, it carries weight because it is grounded in the understanding that his time is invaluable.
Valuing time also transforms his relationship with work and goals. He does not delay, procrastinate, or allow hesitation to dominate his life. Each task, decision, and challenge is met with focus and urgency, but never panic. He recognizes the Stoic principle that the present moment is the only one over which we have power, and he channels his energy fully into it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." In this, he finds clarity, efficiency, and peace. This mastery over time is inseparable from mastery over self. A man who controls his time controls his life. By refusing to waste hours on triviality, he ensures that his mind remains sharp, his body disciplined, and his goals pursued relentlessly. Time becomes his ally, not his enemy, and in this, he gains an invisible advantage over those enslaved by distraction, indecision, and delay.
High-value men also understand that the people who respect time and use it well attract similar energy. By valuing his own time, he sets boundaries that others cannot ignore. He does not overcommit, he does not exhaust himself for trivial approval, and he does not linger in the presence of those who subtract rather than add. This principle is simple yet profound. Value yourself enough to protect your most precious resource, and the world will recognize it. Even naturally, without conscious effort, he moves with deliberate pace and purpose. He does not rush, yet he does not dawdle. He invests in relationships, habits, and projects that compound in value over time. Everything he engages with is measured against his long-term vision, ensuring that every hour contributes to mastery, growth, and self-determination. The man who values time above all else communicates an invisible authority. He does not need to boast or assert dominance. His presence alone signals discipline, purpose, and self-respect. People sense immediately that he is not to be wasted upon frivolity. In his life, time is sacred, and by extension, he himself is invaluable. Ultimately, valuing your time is not merely a habit, it is a philosophy of life. It requires courage, discipline, and relentless self-awareness. It separates men who drift through life from those who shape it. It is the hallmark of a high-value man because it embodies the deepest truths of Stoicism. Life is finite. Purpose is precious, and mastery begins with command over oneself. To respect your time is to respect yourself. To do so naturally, consistently, and without apology is to be unmistakably high value and to radiate power, presence, and influence that cannot be ignored.
Remember, the world will try to pull you into chaos, doubt, and distraction. But the man who masters himself, controls his mind, and values his life above all else stands unshakable. If this video spoke to you, it's time to take action. Subscribe now and join us as we uncover the principles, habits, and truths that forge unbreakable men. Your journey to strength, clarity, and mastery starts here. Don't waste another moment.